23rd of October 2021 at St John's College, Cambridge, Joe Dilling, an army medic soon to leave the service and start working as a personal trainer, stands up to speak at an all-male, candlelit, black-tie dinner. To a casual observer, it seems a classic, cliched rendering of the traditional Oxford experience. But more is going on here than meets the eye. For a start, Joe has struggled with a fairly severe stammer his entire life. I got told to keep this to 10 minutes, he begins, and the hall falls silent. And I'm like, I pause as he struggles to get the words out. Fucking hell, at least give me 20 so I've got enough time. This is Joe's first ever attempt at public speaking, and he's making it in front of a general, a major, 3 Cambridge professors, and most importantly, around 50 of his peers. He explains how he overcame his reluctance to do so when he saw a social media post about how people with stammers don't have a voice. If you have an imperfection, a weakness, a fault, it's not actually a fault, it's you, he reflects. It's what you are. You can't change it, but you can work on it every day. Joe last year wouldn't have spoken in front of 50 people, but that's growth. That's the introduction to a piece about the Lads Advice group that's put out recently by Cambridge University. And I'm pleased to welcome to the Got Your Six Lads Advice Encounters podcast with me, Gav Topley, Joe Dilling. Joe, good to see you.
Okay, mate, how are we?
Good, thank you, mate. Good. So I guess a point to start with this is Joe Dilling a year ago wouldn't have done this. Could you talk us through that? How have you gotten from where you were a year ago to standing up and talking at Cambridge University in front of 50 people?
So I think it sort of it changed for me when I recognized I do have a voice, and I've got something to say, and then if I say it, others who have a stammer actually come out and talk about it. I think that was the a turning point.
Absolutely. So let's rewind then. Can we start a little bit further from that, a little bit further back and get to know Joe? So can you take us through what it was like growing up? Was the stammer always a thing, and how did it affect you?
Yeah, so I had it since I was 5. Then before that I was sort of like a bit late to talking. That was a bit of a struggle in primary, and then into a secondary it did get a lot worse. So from year 7 into year 10 it got worse. But I then started a bit of speech therapy for it, and it started to improve. I learned a few techniques, and from there afterwards I joined the army at 16. So yeah.
Sure. So how did that affect you in school? Your ability to sort of interact with lessons, with friends, make friends? Would you say there was an impact there?
So I always had a group of friends. Never had that issue. Just that in class, I never sort of answered any questions at all. I just sat back and watched in school. I could have participated a lot more, and I got bullied a bit in school, especially in year 7 and year 8, and I think that was because I had a stammer. So,
and you said that the stammer got worse around that point. Do you think that those two things are linked?
I think so. I think if someone picks up on a perceived fault in you, especially as a kid, it just increases inside you, gets worse, and you notice it a lot more. I think that's what happened.
Sure. And what about the school in terms of the way they supported you? Was there any support?
In terms of support, I had teachers who got it, teachers who didn't. The ones who got it were excellent. The ones who didn't, it was just a bit shit, because when I stuttered or stammered, it just got annoyed. So in terms of support in a school, I think it did all they could.
And you mentioned that some of them got it and didn't get it. Could you talk a bit more about that in terms of what that looks like?
Yeah, so when I answered the register, I had one science teacher, and every time I answered it, I stammered, and then he would get frustrated, and I get frustrated, and then it would just get worse. But if he picked up on it, I feel he could have supported me a lot more. And some teachers were like, hey, a lot more lenient towards it, and would actually sort of give me that time.
And so what would you say if there are teachers listening to this podcast and they perhaps have someone, or in the future have someone in their class who is struggling with a stammer? What would you ask them to do if they are looking to help?
I'd say recognize it, especially that is a key. And after you have recognized it, try and help them, but don't push them. If they are talking, even if they are blocking and stammering, just let them finish, even if it takes a long time. Because I know if I'm talking and I stammer, and someone interrupts me, I feel shit. about it, and as a kid, it will just will be a lot worse.
And I think I've seen you share memes about that in terms of people feeling like they need to finish sentences for people who have got a stammer. So I know that's quite important to you. What about the bullying? Was that challenged?
So in terms of bullying, I stopped it myself. So I didn't actually I tell anyone about it. I stopped it. So
And that sounds like it might have been some direct action from yourself, was it?
yeah. Well, I did boxing as a kid, so I learned
Okay.
a few things.
So then you got 16 and you joined the army and as a combat medic. Was that a direct entry?
Direct entry at 16 into AFC. Yeah.
So AFC, for anyone who's listening that doesn't know, is the Army Foundation. The Army, of course, trains all of its 16 and 17-year-olds. What drove that decision to join the Army?
I've always been interested in like sport and fitness and just all things sort of military, and I love a challenge. In the army, I knew I'd get a challenge. I knew in phase 1 I would have a challenge. So I think that's why I joined. And also I did want to I deploy and like and do things, but unfortunately I did not get that opportunity. Fortunately, too.
So why a medic?
That's a good question. I feel I've always I wanted to help people. I've been interested in helping people. As a teenager, I coached in boxing for all the kids and that, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoy helping people towards something. And obviously, as a medic, and that is pretty important, isn't it? So
Yeah. And so obviously to join the army as a medic, you need to have fairly decent GCSE qualifications. And so despite the things that did go on at school, it sounds like you managed to push on through that. Did you need any additional support with that, or did you just knuckle down at school and get the grades that you needed for that job? And was that with sort of your eyes on that target?
So, in terms of exams, I did pretty good. Always I've been able to knuckle down if I have a goal in mind, and I feel the army and working towards that was a great goal. So I had no issues in getting in.
Sure. And so that this quite rigid and structured and disciplined Joe, is that something that has always been there? Would you say it comes from family? Is it something that you learned more once you got to the army, or what's underlying that?
I think it's always has been there, because my dad has always like been a hard worker. I feel that rubbed off on me as a teenager. I was boxed at least 4 times a week. I feel that helped to sort of create that routine, that discipline inside me. So I feel it has always has been there.
So you arrived at the army financial college. That's Harrogate. There's about 1,000 junior soldiers, as far as I believe, which is pretty daunting for anyone. Can you take us through your first impressions when you got there, in the first sort of days and weeks?
First impressions in the army, it was I made a huge error here, but in like after a few weeks, I was like, actually, I do enjoy it. Just that in that environment, I've gone from a small town into an army camp, and I was like, I was not used to it at all. It was a massive change, but as I progressed, I got more comfortable, and I got more experience, and got easier. But to start off with, I struggled, like, to be honest.
And so, obviously, you said at school you had your group of friends. There were other kids who were pretty mature, and you suffered some bullying. How did that translate across into Harrogate? Because obviously you're still in what's an educational establishment. There's, I guess, probably the same sort of number of kids you might have in a school, but it's a bit more of a disciplined environment. What was your experience of that in relation specifically to your stammer?
So, in the army, I've had no bullying because I stammer. I've had people who have like not got it, but I've not had any sort of like bullying at all. I think it's like it's just because people don't understand it. That's the issue.
And so obviously stammering can come on more severely under stressful situations, and the point of that training is to put you under stress. Did you find that stammer was more difficult in that environment, or?
I think so. That's when my training into become a medic. Like when I got stressed, it got worse. We saw that on our class ones. As I got more stressed out, it got worse. But as I practiced it, got a lot better. So for me, it's like it's just practice.
Sure. And so we met on the Class 1 combat medic course at Lichfield Defence Medical Services. What was that? Maybe 2 years ago?
Yeah. I think so, mate.
And I can remember you smashed that there at all. Where did you go from there? So presumably you finished basic training and you went to a unit?
Yeah, so I went to Formed in Tidworth. Yeah, so I was at Formed for 2 years, and then I posted to the infantry battle school in Brecon.
And again, so that's quite a lot of change. What was that like as an experience of being uprooted again and moving around, as I guess you would expect in the army? That's what's going to happen. But as a medic, you probably move on your own, and it's a whole new bunch of people to meet. What was that experience like?
Yeah, so all change for me is tough, because obviously I've created a relationship with my team and my chain of command. But I found, as I sort of I went from a four med into the infantry battle score, it was not as bad as sort of like transitioning from a training into a four med, because I got more confident.
So that's more, you think, to do with your skills at adapting to those situations than it is to that change itself.
Yeah.
And I came and visited you at Formed. I came and visited you. Sorry, not at Formed. It was at the infantry battle school in Brecon. And you seem to have a pretty good group around you there. And seem quite settled. What influenced your decision then to move on from the army?
So, I think in lockdown, it was obviously a lot of change for everyone. I've always been interested in like fitness and sports, as you quite fit. So I thought in lockdown, like I can help people. So I took on my PT course, created a page on Insta, and from there I gained a lot of traction, and then I realized I can help people in achieving their fitness as goals and getting more confident. So yeah.
So was that a sort of a natural development from training yourself that led to then wanting to help other people? I think the first part of my question. And then the second part is, at what point did that sort of crystallize as actually, this is not just something I want to do as a hobby. I want to move on to think.
Yeah, I think it has been there. I have known I can help people, and I can inspire everyone I talk to. In terms of when it sort of like it crystallized. I think it was in November of 2020 when I passed my PT course, and from there I had a lot of ideas on like on how I can like I can help and improve the fitness industry.
And so that then sort of naturally led that, you know, you didn't have so much time with the army and you wanted to put more of your time into the PT business. Is that right?
100%. From then, like, I was like a bit switched off from it.
Yeah. And so we spoke before. You gave a speech at St John's College at Cambridge University, which got overwhelmingly positive feedback from the professors of the college, from Major General Nansen, who was the former commandant of Sandhurst, where all the officers are trained for the army. And that was your first attempt at public speaking. And you spoke there about imperfections not being imperfections, but being part of you. Can you speak a bit more about that?
I feel everyone who has a fault and who has a weakness, I think it stops them. It stops them from achieving. Stops them from reaching their full potential, and that is not the case, and that is not correct at all. Like people who have a weakness, it's not actually a weakness. It's just it's perceived as a weakness. If you can flip that mindset, you can actually turn it into a strength, and that's what I've done. I've turned my own stammer into a strength, and I've turned it into something that can actually help others. So if you have got a weakness, try and turn it into a strength.
And so when you've done that to great effect and you've sort of embraced it fully and self-styled yourself as the Stammer PT, what practical advice would you give to someone who sees that they have got a difficulty, or what at the moment they see as an imperfection or a weakness? What are the practical steps about embracing that and turning it into something positive?
You have to embrace it, and that is so tough. It took me a long time to embrace my own stammer, to not get as upset about it. But I would start just having a chat to others about it, and try and to educate others about your weaknesses, and then it won't seem as bad. And that's what I've done. Like I've done that in the army. I've done that as a PT, and people after you explained it to them, after you educated them, are a lot more considerate. I don't think anyone is actually a bad person, and who actually wants to be a bully. You just educate them, it gets better. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And you find that most people are receptive to that?
Yeah. I find after I've talked to someone about my own stammer, actually okay about it. Not a problem. It's only a problem if I let it be a problem. If I sit back and I don't have a chat about it, and I don't I'll be open.
So you say it's more a thing that's coming from self-limiting beliefs then than other people's perception of you. Is that what you'd say?
Yeah. I think for a lot of people, it's their own limiting beliefs that are holding in them back, and it's not others. Which is it's tough to hear that, but it is true. That's what I had to sort of realize in my own life, that it's just me who is stopping in me.
Sure, and I guess that kind of reflectiveness is not easy to achieve. We all have our own sort of filters, and definitely the research suggests that people who are not able to see people like them, for example, in similar careers, are less likely to get because of not being able to see themselves in those shoes. So in terms of sort of stepping back from that worldview where you view yourself in a particular way that's unhelpful, is there a strategy for achieving that, or is it something that sort of came naturally to you over time? Or
Each night I reflect on my day, and I journal. I think that has helped a lot. I feel that has progressed me a lot. So I think if you can reflect on everything that's happening, it will help. That's what I do each night. So yeah.
And do you do that through a particular lens? Because I guess the only problem I can see with that is if someone's thinking quite negatively, then that reflection could be quite negative. So do you is there a system? Do you put particular points down, or is it just sort of quite free flowing?
Ask what I'm grateful for each day. And then I ask what I've learnt today. It's just 2 questions. I find for me that helps because it's not too much. And from there, I can I reflect on a lot. I do get that point if we're in a negative headspace, it might not work. So there could be a another technique.
Sure, but it sounds helpful in terms of sort of focusing the mind and looking clearly at how your day has gone, and maybe even sort of running up to that, looking for lessons and trying to learn lessons that have something to reflect on. Going back to joining the army at 16, obviously you've been surrounded by a package of support the army lifestyle provides from a pretty young age. And so it kind of been a small decision to decide that you're going to leave and then go into business rather than take a job even that somebody else is providing for you. Was there any fear with that?
A lot of fear. And when I first signed off, and I first told everyone, I did get a lot of people who said I was stupid and it would not work out. Wouldn't work out as a PT. But I thought, and I believe this, you have to chase your own happiness. What I knew would make me happy. It was being a PT. So just focus on that. Focus on my own happiness above everything else.
And in terms of that leap into the unknown, was there a plan B? Did he put a safety net in place, or was it more approach that you took?
No safety net at all. I just committed to it 100%. That's not the best option for everyone. So I would not suggest that. I knew I had to personally commit 100%. Otherwise, I would not commit at all.
Sure, and I think you come across from our chats as quite goal focused. Obviously, there are people that leave the army and after having that wraparound of support, they do struggle. What advice would you give with hindsight to people who are in the process of leaving? What can they do to try to help themselves to not fall into the trap of going from sort of quite a high level of community and a wraparound of support to perhaps less so, to make sure that it's more likely to work out for them?
Good question. So I'd suggest joining a community of some sort. So if it's a football club, or if it's a group on Facebook, just a hobby. Having a community is so important for everyone, but it's especially important for ex-army, for ex-service personnel. If you try and go out on your own, it might not go well. So I would just suggest getting involved in something and having a great support network, because I do. Like, I've got lads and advice. I've got my mates. I've got a APT group I'm part of. Having a support network is so important.
Have you found you've managed to keep in touch with people from the army now you've left, or is that something that's less prominent now? Or
I've kept in touch with the people I want to, and I've got rid of people I don't want to, or like who aren't supportive in terms of my own goals. So yeah, I've just been a bit ruthless, but I'm happy about that.
can you talk a bit more about that in terms of, you know, and I guess there's a bit of a cliche around sort of people around you that share the same goals to support you to get to where you're going, and is that something that you've realized more recently, or felt more able to do, or what's gotten you to that point?
A lot more recently. So you're like, I like to say, your vibe attracts your tribe. If you've got a supportive group around you, you will grow. But if you have got people who sort of like are negative, who aren't sort of working towards a goal, or like just get dragged into their life. So I like to surround myself with people I like, people who have a goal in mind, because I'm that person. I've got a lot of ambition, a lot of drive.
Sure, and I think again, it's a bit of sort of old wisdom there around the people that are around you to party and for the good times, not necessarily the people when you need them. And I've seen that sort of over and over again, where people have posted that in the group where they've felt that perhaps people are not as supportive as they could be, and yet they, in the good times when they were out partying, felt that was their closest friends. So
I know people who are like that.
And so this, obviously research supports everything you're saying. There's a Harvard study that talks about good, strong connections and connectivity between people, and knock on for mental health, physical health, longevity, brain health. It's all there. How does that influence your approach to the work, to the personal training, and to that community there, and to how you advise your clients?
Yeah, so in terms of who I work with, I work with people starting off in the fitness industry, in their own journey to sort of like working towards improving their own confidence. So that's why I highlight in my own coaching in the importance of a community, the importance of having a routine, and the importance of working towards a goal. And my own coaching, like, not focused on weight loss much, more focused on people improving their confidence. Not sure if that answered the question at all. I just went off on a tangent.
No, it's useful, but I think for sure you often share your goals and when you've met them, and sometimes when you've not, about the lack of a need for perfection. Do you think that sharing goals is an important part of meeting goals? Is part of that sense of community in terms of the sort of emotional feedback of being seen to do well by people you care about, or is it more yourself, or is it a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination. To meet a goal, you have to have some form of accountability. You have to have someone hold you accountable. So if you are part of a group of people and it is not just you, it will be a lot easier. And that's why as I said, having a community is key in my own coaching.
And how does that translate into the business world? Business can be quite competitive. There are, with no disrespect to them, a lot of young lads on, that I know personally and who are on social media, on Instagram and other platforms, who aspire to be a PT. And I'm not so sure that very many of them are able to then develop that to a point where they're making a good living out of it. So what's different? What sets you apart? How have you managed to make that happen?
I think I'm just authentic on my socials. It's like not filtering. I'm just me. I share what I've been up to. Share what I've wow, and I share what I've not done well. I think a lot of like aspiring PTs out there are just putting up pictures of their own training. That is not helpful to others. You actually have actually educate and inspire others. That is not through your like in training. That is through actually just being authentic, actually resonating with everyone. I feel that's what I do each day.
Yeah, and I think you're right. That authenticity then obviously is likely to lead to better rapport and better, back to the question of connection. It's pretty easy, I think, if you're seen as someone who's in your sort of role, so trying to motivate other people to progress, to become quite cliched. How do you steer clear of that and make sure that the content that you're sharing with the people that might be working with you or wanting to work with you or who just follow you feel that stuff is authentic and it's not something that might be cliched, for example?
Yeah. So my socials, I've got one message, and I feel I present it pretty well. And that message is I'm trying to improve confidence in every aspect of life, because I know a younger version of me needed it. So that's who so that's who I talk to in my own socials. Myself at age sort of like 16, 18.
Mm-hmm. But your client base, do they tend to be younger, or do they just tend to be earlier on in their fitness journey?
I coach 18-year-olds to 30, so sort of like around that age.
Has that been a choice, or has that sort of been just a natural process where?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both, because as I said, I'm like trying to coach a younger version of myself, so I think it's a natural a transition.
Sure. And you shared something earlier. It says you don't have to be finished on. People need the version of you today, not a future version of you. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, that's a favorite of mine, actually. People always feel like and it have to be a lot better than it. Like than they actually are. That is not the case at all. Who you are today can impact someone else. I don't have to have a future version of you. Today I can impact someone else as I am now, and you can, and someone else can. You don't have to be the a finished art. Cool. Who you are today is all that counts. So if you focus on that, you can improve someone else's life.
And that seems pretty important to you, is helping people to move. And I think that is a concept that's widely embraced by people who aim to support with mental health. So mindfulness training, Buddhism, and living in the now. And as the human animal, we're the only animal that creates stress for ourselves by worrying about stuff that may or may not happen in the future. How do you manage that? But also, how do you reconcile that living in the now whilst being goal focused, which in many ways, needs you to look forward so that you can start putting things in place to meet those goals?
So each week I have a list of tasks I know I have to complete. And each day I'll plan out my day. By doing this, I won't feel as stressed because I know what I'm up to each day. Have a routine each day, so I don't feel that stressed because I know what I have to complete and when.
And how important is routine to you, and what happens if that varies? How do you cope with that if you do have to vary that routine?
Routine for me is incredibly important. Like, I get up at same time each day, which is like 6 a.m. But if it like it gets ruined or like or sidetracked for some reason, I try not to get that annoyed because it can happen and it will happen. I try to just focus on what I can control. So if I've not got enough time for my morning routine, just cut it short. So not that focused. I get stressed out if it's sort of like stopped.
That's interesting. There's a serenity prayer, of course. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I was lucky enough to have a conversation with Darren Brown fairly recently. He's written books on this, Happy and Happier, which is a condensed version. And I asked him to give one takeaway piece of advice to people like the young lads we have on Lads Advice, and pretty much that's what you've just said there, is to focus on the stuff you can change. I know for people it can be quite difficult when things don't go to plan, particularly people who might be neurodivergent or have ADHD or other things like that going on for them. Personally, I can find it quite difficult. If I've got a list and I get to item number 3 and item number 3 is not happening, then probably item number 4, 5, 6, and 7 isn't going to happen either without a real push to get past that break in the sequence of events. What advice do you have? Have you had any clients who are similar, and what advice would you have for overcoming that?
If you've got a list of tasks and it's over a 5, it's too much. So you need to sort of focus on what is actually important. It's time. There's a great book I read, and it's called Essentialism, and it talks about how we're focusing on too much. If we just focus on what's important and what will push us forwards, everything will just get a lot clearer. So each day I plan out 3 tasks. That's it each day. Yeah.
So obviously in these times of COVID and people being encouraged to do things remotely, we're doing this over the internet. I think you might have glitched there a little bit where you gave the name of the book. Is it a book you'd recommend? And if so, what is the title? Why? For anyone listening that wants to follow up on that.
Essentialism. Essentialism.
Do you do a lot of reading?
I love reading. I do, yeah. I read for like about half an hour each day, so adds up.
And that's part of the routine?
Yeah, so I try and I read each morning and each night, and then like in terms of types of books, I'm quite into like stoicism and philosophy. So I read a lot of that sort of stuff now.
What are you reading at the moment?
Actually, I'm reading a book about sleep. So yeah, and that's actually it's pretty interesting because it's talking about how our sleeps in 90 minute cycles should not be looked at in terms of 6 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hours. It should be looked at in terms of cycles.
That's not Why We Sleep, is it? The book Why We Sleep?
No.
That's
I have read
one.
that. I read that by Marcus a Walker, I think. Walker.
Sleep seems like a big topic. I've read that as well, and I'm currently listening to Fast Asleep. How to get a really good night's rest. Dr. Michael Mosley. And again, he suggests that historically we have like broken sleep because we have to be on watch, which is quite interesting. Best book of all time? Putting you on the spot now.
I'm looking at it right now. So not a life coach. That is by James Smith. That book is what helped me leave the army.
In what way?
It was a quote, actually. It was what if next week, next year, you got the news? Live your life as you want to now.
It's pretty powerful. I was half expecting you to say David Goggins. I know people listening, if they're part of the group, will know we've got a £20,000 fundraiser for pirate suicide prevention, and you and some friends did David Goggins' 4x4x24 challenge. We ran 4 miles.
This year too.
You're doing it this year too. So it's just for people who don't know what it is. Can you explain what it is?
Crazy. So it's 4 miles every 4 hours, and for 48 hours. But last year, we did it for 52 hours, and this year, hopefully I'll do it for 50 6 hours, which would be really tough.
Question. Why? Why?
Because it's a challenge. I know if I can, if I push through this year after I completed it last year, I was absolutely, for a better word, if I can complete it in this year, that sort of proves that I have a mental toughness, and I can overcome obstacles. And if I can overcome that again this year, I could do anything.
So last year, I think you did the extra hours to make it up to 2 marathons, was it?
Yeah.
What's the increase this year? Is that just because you don't want to repeat the challenge, you want to make it tougher?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And what was the toughest part last year?
When I had to run at night, so I ran at 12 and at 4 a.m. and that was, I did not want to get up at that time at all. Run does.
Was it waking up, or was it the fact that it was dark during those times, or both?
The fact that after day one, I wasn't even running in anymore. I was just hobbling. So each step hurt. What was it like? I wasn't too tired. I was just clip.
Did you do much build up?
No.
And
I'm not this year either. I'm in exactly the same situation.
when is it?
6th of March, so I've got just under 2 months.
You got a bit of time.
Yeah.
Would you? What advice would you give to anyone thinking of doing David Goggins' 4x4x48 challenge?
Have a support network again, because I had a best mate in the army on a bike, literally every single run. That helps so much. Like if it's just you out there at 12 a.m. at 4 a.m. If you are like 40 miles in, it's tough. You have to have someone else out there.
Did you listen to music?
Yeah. I had Rocky on repeat after I'd done one marathon. Constantly on Rocky.
Is that Eye of the Tiger?
I know the like theme tune. Just that.
I was hoping to get you to sing there, Joe. So you said before.
I know you were.
We love a bit of karaoke. You said before that Joe a year ago was quoting the article put out by Cambridge University, was speaking of people, and that you didn't foresee that happening. First of all, part of my question: what facilitated that change? What brought about that change? And I'll give you the second part after you've answered that.
I think it was through posting on social old media because I saw I could impact others, and I saw my own stammer. It was not as bad as I thought. I saw I could sort of like could push on, and I could improve.
And like I said, you totally commanded the attention of that room, and the feedback you got afterwards. What sort of feedback did you get after you done that talk?
A lot of good feedback off like a lot of important people. After it got posted to fill your boots, I got a lot of nice comments. This was I'm just like really I'm grateful.
Shout out to Alfie Usher, Fully Boots, and hopefully be coming to the dinner again next year for posting that out for us. But so, would you say that that's what's been the impact of that feedback? Has that caused any changes in the way that you view things, or?
I think it's just showing me that I am capable of talking in front of a group of people, and I have got a message to put out there. People all will listen. That's just as for someone who has a stammer, that is just amazing.
What's Joe going to be doing a year from now?
Hopefully, in a year from and now, I would like done a lot more public speaking. I would do a lot more in-person events. For my online coaching, I would just continue taking every single opportunity I can in order to improve and to grow.
So on that then, you're looking for some public speaking gigs. How do people contact you if they'd like you to come and chat?
So on my Insta and Facebook and TikTok, it's the Stammer PT. So I think is a cool name.
And that's on all 3 platforms?
Yep.
I just got to check for anyone who is military listening to this. You're not that guy on TikTok in rig, in uniform, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not, mate. We had this chat before. I'm not one of them.
Final question, Joe. I'm aware that we have buggered your routine a bit tonight. You've spoke about finding your voice, about the importance of finding your voice, about the importance of having something to say, and I guess that's equally about knowing when to speak and when not to speak. Now you've found that voice, and you're able to get out there and put out a message that's helpful to other people, which is something we know you're passionate about. What advice would you give to, firstly, someone who's listening to this who might be struggling with a stammer, and then secondly, what advice would you give more generally in terms of perhaps the additional life experience that you've gained?
Take every single opportunity you can in order to improve, even if it it goes absolutely awfully, and you have a lesson to learn, even if you sort of stammer, if you aren't that good, you like got some growth in it. And each opportunity, its outcome, its obstacle, you will improve. Just you have to be authentic to you, and you have to just be who you are, and not be someone else. You have to just be the authentic you, even if people get annoyed, people don't get you. You have to be you. That's what I say. Just be you.
Good advice, Joe, and a good note to wrap this up. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thoroughly impressive as always. Really great to speak to you, and thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Right, bud. Enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of Got Your Six Lads Advice Encounters with me, Gav Topley, and Joe Dilling, aka the Stammer PT. If you'd like to connect with Joe, you can do so on social media. His Insta is the Stammer PT, or his Facebook is Joe Dilling PT. Joe's also agreed to host a challenge exclusively for members of the Facebook group starting tomorrow, Monday the 31st of January 2022. It's called the 7-Day Ice Challenge with Joe, and every day you'll be given a task that takes no longer than 5 minutes, but that will help to improve habits and to improve your social, emotional and physical well-being. If you'd like to get involved with that, check out the group for details. As always, if you'd like to contact the podcast, you can do so via the Facebook group Lads Advice, on Insta, lads_advice, on Twitter, advice_lads, or by emailing us, ladsadvice@hotmail.com. If you'd like to support our fundraising in support of Papyrus, prevention of young suicide, please check out www.justgiving.com/fundraising/Chaz and Gav /Killy. And finally, if you'd like to support the podcast and the group, you can do so on patreon.com/Gav Topley. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.